Okay, so now you should have finished your spelling, your DOL, and your grammar. You should have taken your test. We're going to talk about writing with races, our central message, our fantastic flying books of Mr. Morris Lesmore, and then your freckle. So writing with races, what I want you to do with writing with races. So remember, these are all the stories that are in the packet that you were given Wednesday. You do not have to answer all of the short responses. I only want you to pick 3 of them. The multiple choice, the vocabulary, and all of the other questions, you should be answering all of those. But the short responses, we're only going to practice 3. Okay, so I'm going to go and I'm going to pull those up. Let's see if I can get those on my screen. Here they are. Okay, so this was your vocabulary practice, and it was talking about the words that tell time. All right, so that should have been pretty simple for you. My computer's going to go very slow. These were asking you some meaning of words, which we practiced that. If you need to use your semantic maps, you may use your semantic maps. This was your pronouns, not pronouns, possessive nouns. Apostrophe S and S apostrophe. There's the video in your grammar for that. And let's go ahead and get to the writing. This is a passage that has mistakes, so it's kind of like our grammar sentences. You were reading it to see how many mistakes you could find. All right, so now, and again with vocabulary. Here we go. Determining the central message. And again, this was just looking at the story to try to figure out what the main character, who is obviously the little boy, what he learns and what lesson you can learn from watching him or from reading about him. Okay. Same thing with our other stories that you're going to be reading. You're looking for details. So in there you would have found 3 things that you could see in the pictures that would help you figure out what the boy is learning that could also teach you a lesson in life. And that is what central message is dealing with. All right, so the girl and the apples. What we want to practice is races. So I'm going to try to come to one of our short responses. So right here it says write another short response on what is another lesson that the girl might learn from what happened. This is where you're going to write that short response. So remember, if I'm using races, then the R would say restate the question. The question says, what is another lesson the girl might learn from what happened? So remember, it told me to get rid of, let's see if it will let me. It told me to get rid of the question word and rearrange the other words to turn it into a statement that will begin my answer. So I could start it with the word another. Another lesson the girl might learn from what happened in the story is. And I'm going to tell you what she could have learned. But I have to remember to come back to this story. And when I get back to the story, it's been talking about paying attention to details the whole time. So I want you to pay attention to the details because you're going to have to underline those details. So one of the things that you can do in the story is you can use your pencil or your colored pencils, and you can highlight things that you think are important for where the girl is learning something, or for where you think the character does something important that helps you understand what the message is from the author. So she's right here. I can see it says, how can it take so long if I go fast? So right here, obviously she's trying to go fast, but whatever her work is, it's taking her longer to do, but she's going fast. So if I would think about it, the lesson could possibly be that just because you're going fast, does that always mean that your work is going to get done? Because sometimes if you're going fast, you're going to make a mistake, and then you're going to have to redo it again. Okay, so if I come back to my short response, what is another lesson the girl might learn from what happened? Another lesson the girl might learn from what happened is take your time to do your work to make sure it's done properly the first time. And then I would go back and I would find the sentences that prove that answer. And I could use the one that I just read. It's taking so long, but I'm going so fast, which shows even though she was going fast, her work was taking long. That would be one detail from the text. I would have to get another detail. And then at the end, I would do a closing sentence that says, this is a lesson or a theme from the story, The Girl and the Apples. I just want to make that final sentence to summarize it. Okay, so that's what you're going to be practicing when you're practicing races. Restate, answer, cite, explain, and then sum it up, which is your closing. And we're going to talk about those parts next week when Miss Neda gets back to school. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. But this is the packet that you should have. And again, all of those stories. So here's the story sharing the crops. And again, all of these stories have a central message that the author wants the reader to learn. But you can't learn that message if you don't read the story and pay attention to the things that the character is doing that's helping them learn a lesson. Okay? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. And I'm going to come back to our classroom. Put that back down. Okay. So again, here are the different stories. You only have to pick 3 responses. I want you to work on races after you've done your spelling, your grammar, and your quiz. Okay, so this is what you'll work on next. If you still have time and you've at least written 2 of your responses by the end of class time today, you could go back to determining the central message. And again, here in the central message, you have the 2 video lessons about finding the central message, finishing your packet with your reading your stories and answering your questions. And these are the 3 stories that focus on central message. So those 3 questions do need to be finished. 3 stories. Okay. Okay. After you get done with your races and your central message, if you still have time, you can listen to the story again, but I need you to make sure you go into your Freckle login. And here's your login. I'm going to put the code here. Remember, you're reading 3 stories and 3 to 4 word study lessons, which help you learn about the word sounds, understanding words in text, and reading and responding to questions. Okay, so try to make sure you're logging into your Freckle as well. And then you are finished for the day. Anything that you do not get finished, we'll talk about on Monday when I return. Tomorrow I'll go over the other stories that are in your packet, and we're going to talk about recounting story events, which is basically just retelling the story. All right, so the first thing you should do is your spelling and your vocabulary, your DOL and your grammar, and then you're going to take your quiz. You only have an hour for the quiz. After an hour in your class period, I'm going to take the quiz away. I'm going to make it disappear. You're going to practice writing using races. I don't care which response you use. And then if you have time, you'll come do Determining Central Message and the Fantastic Flying Books of Mr. Morris Lesmore. Pay attention to your vocabulary because you're going to have a vocabulary quiz. And then make sure you're doing your Freckle. Okay? I will see you as soon as I get back, and I'll probably do another video for Friday. So have a good day.